question. Have you ever had a cleaner disappear on you? Because I have. My cleaner vanished into thin air and I got it fixed like this and found the absolute best cleaner because I follow all of the practices I'm going to talk about here before and after and what I did and what I changed. Help! I can't find a good cleaner. Can someone recommend the best cleaner for me? Or my cleaner didn't show up. They ghosted me. What should I do? All of this coming right up. Welcome to Chai and Cabins, where we talk all things entrepreneurship, short-term rentals, real estate, and business. My name is Rashmi, like don't rush me, and it's my pleasure to welcome you onto this podcast. Cleaners are your best friends, arguably even more important than your guests because they are the lifeline of your business and your worst nightmare, honestly, if you don't hire the best one or they don't work out the way you want to. So, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Chai and Cabins, where we chat all things about real estate, short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, hospitality, and so much more. My name is Rashmi, like don't rush me. I own several short-term rentals and manage another 45, soon to be 50. So I know a thing or two about the short-term rental business. I manage all of my real estate from afar, so hiring the best cleaners is absolutely crucial for me. All of my cleaners also double as boots on the ground for me, and I'll talk about that in detail as well here, and so you can learn the best tips and practices. So before we get into all of these tips, we need to talk about why it's important to find someone to clean for you. Apart from the obvious fact that all the guests expect a clean place to stay when they book your place, all of my cleaners are also my eyes and boots on the ground. Since I own and manage my real estate from afar, I can't be there in person to see if paint got chipped, or if we're missing plates, or if the trees are overgrown, or if the yard needs to be mowed. So my cleaners handle all of that for me. So you want to make sure you are finding cleaners that take care of the property really well for you. That and all of this other little stuff, you need to plan for your cleaners to be able to clean short-term rentals. Here's the thing. If you clean your own Airbnb, you're going to be so busy working in the business that you're not going to have any time left to work on the business. It really is just as simple as that. Cleaning your Airbnb, doing the maintenance, doing the communication does not make you more money, nor does it save you money. But here's what it does do. It does keep you from acquiring more properties because you're focusing on these tasks, and at this point you just have a job. And I don't know about you guys, but like I didn't get started into this just so I could have another job. So instead of cleaning, we should be looking at how can I acquire my next property? Where should I invest? What should I do? This is how we grow the business. Now, the only time I recommend that you clean your property is if you plan to open a cleaning company and you want to teach your cleaning crew. This can actually be a really lucrative business. I have several friends who have this and they do really well in them. They've scaled to $10,000, $20,000 a month of income owning cleaning companies that specifically focus on cleaning short-term rentals because it's such a specific type of clean and it can be really profitable. But that's an entirely different YouTube episode with different challenges, including human resources. So we won't quite dive into that today, but if you guys want me to, give me a comment below and I'll do a video on that. But apart from guys, that seriously, you don't need to save time and clean on your Airbnb to save like a few $100s. And I say save in air quotes because in time you will find that cleaning and spending all this time on your rental, you could again be focusing on making another $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month by buying out your next property. So obviously cleaning is the most important part of a short-term rental business. Yet I see so many people asking for recommendations on Facebook, on WhatsApp, in groups. Has anybody got any cheap cleaners? Or can anybody recommend a good cleaner for me at a good price? Well, for me, good price is whatever gets you the 5-star reviews. Because 5-star reviews is the difference between a guest booking your place and not booking your place. It's literally your business thriving or not thriving. It It really is as simple as that. But what you need to be doing is cleaners, they have a tendency to come and go. You have to accept that. But as you start growing your portfolio, you are going to need more and more cleaners. So you need to nail down your process and make sure you have a really good way of finding them and then retaining them. So let's get into it. Step one, where in the world do I find this cleaning crew? So the first thing I want to talk about is, where do you find or hire somebody that cleans your Airbnbs? So I'm going to go over a couple of different options that I have personally used over the last couple of years to find our cleaners. And this is also the same process I use when I buy new properties. So the very first place I like to look is in Facebook groups. So I join Facebook groups in the area for my rentals are in, and then I look at which cleaners are advertising. But the way to find this Facebook group is just to ask like your city and Facebook group name. So I usually reach out to the cleaner and I ask them for referrals. And this is how I connect with other fellow hosts in the area and owners and keep a pulse on what is happening on the market. So you kind of get two things of the benefit of one. And the second way that I look for people is to ask other property owners in the area, hey, who do you guys use for cleaning? What are you doing? And again, I'll usually just go into the Facebook group. And then once I'm in the Facebook group, you'll see like this little search bar icon and just type in cleaners. And this is where you find how all the other property owners will be like, hey, this is who I use. And then I just kind of message them and I go, hey, like, how's your cleaner doing? The third way to do it is literally just to go on Google and go short-term rental cleaners in X area that I'm looking for and look for companies there. You always want to make sure you're getting referrals. I can't harp on this enough, just to make sure they're the right fit and they've done a really good job for other owners as well. The fourth way you want to see this is if you saw, step 3, which is Google short-term rentals. The fourth step is actually usually the first thing that'll pop up, which is Turno. It's a cleaning company software, and it's basically an app. And if you have a property management company like Hospitable or Ownerize, it's actually free. It integrates directly with Turno. And personally, I have yet to use Turno, but I know a lot of friends who have, and they absolutely love it. So I highly do recommend it. And if your cleaner goes missing or last minute, this is another place you can go and find kind of last minute cleaners. And the fifth way to ask is in your network. So you can obviously ask owners, but you can also ask real estate agents, loan officers. Most people in the real estate business, they know someone in the cleaning business. So this can also be a really powerful way to get some new people. So some of your friends and families, if you happen to have people in those areas, they may know people who, clean offices and clean houses. And you could ask them, but I personally prefer to hire cleaners who have experience with social media and who know short-term rentals. So those are a few great options. The other option is to just text friends and family and ask them personally if that works for you. The sixth way to do this, and this is a little bit old-fashioned, but it's to keep an eye out in local places, so like grocery stores. You can look at magazines and see if anyone's advertising in there. Sometimes you can find really good options in your own neighborhood if you happen to live in the same area as your short-term rental. A little bit old-fashioned, but it does work, you guys, and I have seen that. Step 2, how to interview cleaners. Now that you have put the word out that you want to find cleaners, a lot of them will start reaching out to you. They may reach out to you on Facebook if you ask in the groups. Maybe they are getting you some bids via Turno, or you could just have a friend who maybe handed out your number and they're calling you up. And so the next questions I like to add at this point is, how do I interview them? Like, what should I ask them? What should I make sure I don't forget, so I know what I'm looking for? So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you what not to do. And I'm going to tell you this because I see a lot of newbie investors doing this. And then I'll tell you what I typically do. So what I don't want you to do is, I don't want you to write out all of these questions on a Google form and then send that out to your cleaner. There's 2 reasons I recommend you do not do that. The first one is it gives away all of your leverage because they can see all of the questions and think about their answers. You want this to be a really natural, organic, free-flowing conversation. The other part of it is your cleaners are busy people. They are either busy cleaning the property, they're probably running all around town for other owners, they're doing a lot of things, and this doesn't really respect their time. So what I like to do is pick up the phone and make an appointment with them, ask them, hey, what time is typically good for you? I have just a couple of questions I want to run by you just to make sure we are a really good fit. And they'll let you know what time they are. And then, guys, do not be afraid to pick up the phone and talk to them. These are real people with real businesses, and they're going to make an incredible difference in the life of your guest. So give them a call. Once you set up a time to talk to them, make sure you write out all of your questions on a piece of paper and then write down all of your answers, because you'll be interviewing so many cleaners. So you want to make sure you remember what each of them said, so you can go back to your notes once you're all done and pick which ones you want to work with. The other thing is all the information can get really mangled in your head, so you want to make sure that everything's nice and neat and written out. Just another quick little tip. All right, so let's get into the questions you want to be asking your cleaner. The first one is, how big is your team? How long have you been cleaning short-term rentals? Do you exclusively clean short-term rentals? Do you have any clients you can refer so I can talk to them? And this is, again, another bonus. You can talk to other owners. How do you like to get paid? Do you guys clean on the same day? Do you guys do the linens at my property, or are you guys going elsewhere to do the linens? What does your process look like if a clean linen gets damaged? And then you want to start putting them into kind of what if scenarios. What if a guest calls me and tells me the place is dirty? How do you typically handle that? What do you do if a guest in 3 days goes, hey, I didn't notice this when I first checked in, but I'm now noticing that you guys have this. Like, how do you guys handle that? How do you guys handle if you missed a turn? How do you guys handle if a guest walks into a dirty property, which is usually a mister? Are you guys willing to do any kind of on-site management for me? I.e., do you know any handymans in the area? Are you willing to do tasks? Like, can you receive packages on my behalf and then put them up at my cabin? Can I have an address for something like that? And I say cabin because it's mostly like what I manage and own, but obviously you guys can say house or tree house or whatever beautiful, unique property you end up purchasing. I also like to ask them, and I know I've mentioned this before, what does their team look like? Do they like to clean by themselves, or do they have a little team? And in all of my experience in sort of doing this, I really like the cleaners that have a couple of cleaners underneath them. And these tend to be my best cleaners, because what it means is usually the owner isn't out there doing all the cleaning themselves, but they have some kind of SOPs in place, and they have a training system where they're putting other cleaners and making sure they're cleaning well, and they usually have an inspector that comes out and checks the property. Another question you want to make sure you do not forget to ask is, how do you guys like to be paid? And this question is really important, because really, I don't like to pay after every single clean, but in some markets we have to. And you actually don't have any kind of leverage if you're kind of paying after every clean, because what if something's not done right? So you have to kind of be flexible on the policy, but typically I like to pay on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. It makes it a lot easier for our accounting team. And also it makes it a lot easier for cleaners that have to send you an invoice every single time a turn happens. All right. The next thing that you need to ask your cleaner is, how flexible is your schedule? So the reason this is important is you can get a last minute booking. And if you have one person and they're counting on that money from your Airbnb, and then say your last booking cancels and you don't have anything for the next couple of days or the couple of weeks, they're going to go elsewhere and clean other properties. Maybe don't have time for your property, and they can't just afford to sit around waiting for a spot to open up for your turnover. And especially the turnovers can be tight, especially if you do same day turns between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So during that 4-hour window, you gotta go and clean all these properties. It's really hard to do if you're just one person doing that. So obviously want to tailor these questions around the kind of cleaner you're chatting with. All right, guys, the next question I like to ask is, do you work alone or do you have a team? Again, going back to my original question. And again, going back to, if they only have 3 properties to clean, that's an issue, because they're not going to get to your property between 11 to 3. What happens if your cleaner gets sick? When they have a team that tells me that they have enough people to cover, there's enough leverage, and they can rotate them around in case something happens to one person. It also tells me the owner works on the business, not in the business, just like how we talked about and what we're trying to do with our business. Now, there are some cleaners that are really good and have mixed skills. And so a great question I like to ask is, hey, do you happen to know any handymans in the area? And let's say we have a cleaner who happens to know a handyman. A lot of my cleaners, actually, their husbands happen to be handymans, plumbers, electricians. And I go, fantastic. While you're cleaning the property, can they fix this leak that I've been dealing with for a while? And they're usually more than happy to do that, because they both get to make some extra money. And I don't have to worry about finding another another handyman or cleaner between the hours of 11 to 3, which is really tough because these people are hard to find. Like, they're busy. And this creates a win-win situation for your cleaner, for their husband, and for you. You always want to try and create these win-win situations for both parties to come out. And the other advantage is when the cleaner knows the handyman, plumber, or whoever you ordered, and you go with their recommendation, they usually help them out by finding little things like, oh, where's the electrical panel, or where's this thing, where's this thing. Your cleaner can really easily point out because she knows the property, and she's probably in there watching over her team members clean the property, or can call and just be like, hey, this is where it's located. I remember last time I came by. So another question I really like to ask is, what chemicals do you use, or how do you clean the property? Are you bringing your own, or do you want me to supply for them? Personally, I'm trying to do less in life, and I prefer if they provide their own supplies and it's already been into the cleaning quote that I received from them. This really makes it easier for everyone. Trust me on this one. Now, consumables, things like the guest will use, like toilet paper, shampoo, obviously I like to provide all of that because I have specific brands and I want it to smell a specific way and look a specific way. So what I usually do is I usually ship all those items to my cleaner's house and then they place it onto my property. Things they like to use, like vacuum cleaners, if they're bulky, I'll just buy one, keep it in the property, and then my cleaners can use that. Sometimes I like to ask the cleaner, just in case something happens, do you guys have like an ozone generator? Maybe you have a guest who brought a pet and there's pet urine on the property, or there's a marijuana smell, and things that are big. And usually it's like $50 to have an ozone generator. Most cleaners have them, so it's not a huge deal. But even if you have to go buy one, it's not a big deal. So again, you want to be asking these questions and be proactive, especially if you get some crazy guests. The other extra things I like to make sure, especially when you're talking to an Airbnb cleaner, is they're not regular house cleaners, guys. It's not like they go in every single week and every other, bi-weekly to do this. They're kind of going in there every time you have a turn. And that's the other reason I really like to hire cleaners that have experience in their short-term rental space. So they know how to make the bed, they know how to fold the towels. So another question I really like to ask these cleaners is, going right into what I said, is do you have any experience in this industry? Because there are a lot of cleaners who have traditional clients going back to that weekly, the bi-weekly, maybe even monthly. And if they're not used to turning your property, like they're not used to cleaning out the dishwasher, making sure all the plates are up, or they're not making sure that the fridge is spotless because there's all of these layers of ketchup that maybe a guest left. You want to make sure you toss all those condiments out and you're only leaving clean stuff, like oil, spices, salts that anyone can use. But I don't like to see anything in the fridge. I don't know who's touched it. I don't want to be around that. Although you're really thorough with the cleaning and what you do, you are probably not doing regular maintenance on a home that is bi-weekly. So again, you want a cleaner that is trained in these things so they know to watch out for the yard. They know that the owner isn't here, so they take care of the property like it is their own property. And trust me, guys, there's lots of great cleaners out there. You just have to make an effort to find them and get them on the same page. The other thing we really do not want to do is hire a cleaner who's never cleaned an Airbnb before. The learning curve for that is pretty steep. So do everything you can in your power to find a cleaner that actually has experience in the short-term rental industry. Look for these traits as you are talking to potential cleaners. After working with so many cleaners, I've noticed that the best cleaners all seem to have these below traits that I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But if one of these traits is missing when you're talking to your cleaner, you're probably going to run into some sort of issues with them, and you want to avoid those before you run into them. So make sure you try and find these traits before you hire your first cleaner, or you make sure your backup cleaners have one. And so there are 5 things I'm going to talk about as we go through this, and you guys let me know what you all think. So the first trait I like to talk about is trainability. And I like this one to be the number 1 trait because there are a lot of cleaners, but they have got to be able to know how to clean their short-term rentals. So every cleaner I've ever worked with, they come with their own unique cleaning method. Some of these methods have been really fantastic, and I have taken all of those good parts and incorporated them into my other properties and into the training. There are others who maybe have practices a little bit different than what you would like, and at that point, I just go and ask them, hey, what do you guys think about this? If a cleaner isn't willing to change how they clean or how you want things done, you're going to be fighting with them all the time. You're going to be stressed. They're going to be stressed. It's not worth the effort to just go out and find some other cleaners that have the experience in doing Airbnb cleans. I know I keep repeating this point over and over and over again. I'm just trying to save you guys and setting you up for success when I talk about this stuff. So I will just be honest over here. I have never had to train a cleaner. I always find cleaners that clean other Airbnbs or short-term rentals in my area, so they're pretty familiar with how to clean them. Now, there are things that I may want done differently than other owners, like putting out maybe a little gift basket, but nothing too crazy. All my cleaners are really great and make my life so easy. All right, number 2 is trustworthiness. So in trustworthiness, you guys are going to go, duh, Rashmi. Obviously, we know that a cleaner or anyone that's on our team needs to be trustworthy. And yes, like I understand that. But this is one of the biggest ones because let's be honest, guys, they have access to your property, your home, and you're also going to be sending them so many items to be placed in your property, and they can be in and out of there pretty frequently. And so you need cleaners that have your back. If maybe a guest does something, you need cleaners to take photos so you can submit a claim, to damage claim, to air cover, however you guys want to do that. So you want to know your cleaner doesn't misuse your property and have people that are staying there and making sure that she's taking care of things like that. You need to know your cleaner's not going to steal small items. I ship all of my consumables to my cleaners and I trust them to be able to put them in all the packages. And I'll be honest, guys, in all the time I've done this, I've not had anyone steal. There are some really great people out there who really want to do a good job, and all of our cleaners do that for us each and every day. So the only one time I think I could think of where I've had a little bit of issue is we let a cleaner go and they refused to return our linens and towels. And honestly, guys, like stuff like that can happen. It's just part of doing business. I just wrote off the whole cost and bought new ones. It was a lesson. You grow up and you learn. So number 3 is attention to detail. So when we have guests that are checking in onto the property, so say the cleaner cleaned a surface, and it's pretty easy to clean a surface, and then a guest comes in and sees spots on the same surface, and they go, "Oh my God, the place wasn't clean." Blah blah blah. They're sending you all these photos on Airbnb, and you're like, "Really? Like that doesn't seem to be true, but okay, let's talk to my cleaner. Hey, the guest is talking about this countertop not being clean," and your cleaner goes, "No, it's clean. Maybe there's just a little bit of residue. Maybe it didn't dry the right way. So maybe there's some watermarks. Things like that can happen." And honestly, guys, most guests are really understanding. And are really kind. So you just want to have an open, honest relationship with your guest and with your cleaners. Anytime there's an issue, we always screenshot it over to the cleaner. We're like, "Hey, we just want you to know a guest talked about this. Is that okay?" Another great example is bedding. Sometimes sheets come out of the laundry with a few leftover hairs from previous guests. So even though the sheets are clean, they're dried, you just want to make sure you have cleaners that are going back with lint rollers, picking up all of the hairs to making sure the bed is really nice, clean, and crisp. So when a guest enters, they feel really good because you don't want other people's hair on it. And so you want to hire people that obviously are very detail oriented and who have experience in the short-term rental space because they'll have little tools and tricks of the trade that they know. So this is another reason I like to buy and operate short-term rentals in vacation markets only because again, you can find this group of talented people really quickly when you have that instead of like training this team from the ground up. Number 4 on the list is reliability. So when you have same-day turns happening, you want to make sure your cleaner is actually showing up because if they don't show up, your property doesn't get clean, guys. And if you have a cleaner that isn't reliable, they're probably not showing up and they're probably not doing a really good job for you anyways. So none of it really matters. But in my business, all of my cleaning schedule is automated. So I know that my cleaner knows her schedule well in advance and she's going to show up on time and get the job done. We also check our door locks every time we have a turn to make sure they opened the door and they got in. And this doesn't require us to like babysit them and go out there and text them, "Hey, did you make it to the property?" That's a waste of time. It's not respectful of their time. And so I just make sure that they have a link to the calendar that automatically gets sent, and they get automated emails going, hey, you have a clean coming up tomorrow at 10 o'clock, make sure you're at the property. And then again, go back with the door locks, check to make sure they got in, they got out, the property looks good. And we're not going back and forth with meaningless texts. Again, be respectful of their time, use the technology, especially when all of it is so readily available. Number 5 on the list, which is our last one, is eagerness. So you want your cleaners to have a sense of pride in the work that they do. And I use the word eagerness because you want your cleaner to be in a mode where they're eager to please your guests, because they are the only people who are directly providing an absolutely stellar experience for your guest. So a lot of my cleaners have checklists. They'll look through photos to make sure the property looks good, and they'll basically not have an attitude that goes, well, like, it's not on my checklist, I'm not going to do it. And you also want to be looking for a question that is open to doing deep cleaning tasks. A lot of my cleaners will just message me every quarter going, hey, Rashmi, we want to do a deep clean. Is that okay? And I go, thumbs up. Let's get it done. Let's knock it out of the way, just so that the property looks really good. Or they'll go, hey, a paint got chipped. We just fixed it. Here's $50. And I'm like, thank you. Let me pay you guys back. All right, guys, moving on to step number 3. How much do I pay Airbnb cleaners? So determining the right pay for your Airbnb cleaners is essential. And here's a simple formula that usually works well. And so I like to start with a base of like 25 and then add $25 for each bedroom, bathroom, or living space. So let me break it down with an example to make it really easy. Say your property has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a living room, which is your common space area, and you guys add up all these spaces. So it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 living room. So it's about 6 spaces. You multiply it by 25, you get about $150. So that's a good rough estimate. But keep in mind, obviously, like I said, it's a general guide, and the rates vary based on factors like your location, your cleaner's experience, the specific tasks they're involved in. So it's a good formula to adapt to fit for your unique situation. But my absolute foolproof way of figuring out how much to pay your cleaner is just to ask other owners, what do they pay for this? So I like to go to other Airbnbs in the area and just look at what they're charging for their cleaning fee. So if you find that 4 properties, you're getting charged between $150 and $200 for your cleaning rate, that's typically some amount of range for what cleaners charge in that area. And you want to stay competitive kind of for your area. The best tip I can give you to find a great cleaner is do not, and I repeat, do not haggle with them on pricing. Good cleaners are worth their weight in pure gold, and I'm happy to pay for that. Always pay for quality over cheap, over them doing all this quantity stuff. It's just not worth it, guys. As you're starting out, one of the tips I've heard from some people is you may want to lower your cleaning rate on Airbnb or these platforms. So starting with a slightly lower rate can be a good strategy, especially if you're trying to build up all of your reviews. And as you gather more reviews, you can slowly start increasing your cleaning rate that you're charging to guests. So it's a good strategy. I've used it in the past. Again, it totally depends on you and your market. So this way you stay in line with the market while you're kind of steadily improving your pricing. One thing I do want to mention in this is if you're charging your guests a little bit lower on their cleaning rate, that doesn't mean the cleaner's getting paid less. The cleaner gets paid exactly what they're sending you as an invoice. You as the owner are eating the difference or the cost. Remember, guys, these guys are doing a really, really good job for you. So you want to make sure we pay them well, and then if there's any loss, we take it on our end. So while we're on this topic, let's cover how much you should charge the cleaning fee to your guests. So let's say my cleaner charges me like $150 for my 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom cabin, and I like to add another $10 on that price. Of that, I use $5 to buy consumables for the guests, so things like toilet paper, coffee pods, blah, blah, blah. And the other $5 I like to save, and I actually give it as a bonus to my cleaner during the holiday season. If they do a really good job, we get a whole bunch of 5-star reviews. Again, always paying them well, so we're promoting them doing better with us. So I know there's been a lot of talk in the market about Airbnb going, hey, you should remove your cleaning fee. That's going to boost up your rankings. And honestly, guys, for like everybody I've talked to, it really doesn't seem to make that much of a difference if you have a cleaning fee versus not. So I just like to keep it in there, and most guests are happy to pay it. And I also do not make my guests do 100 tasks when they're about to check out. I literally send them an email the night before that says, "Thank you so much for staying with us. You're checking out tomorrow. If you don't mind turning on the dishwasher and turning off the lights, great. And if you forget to do that, like, no worries, we will handle it." We are in the hospitality business, so let's act like we're in the hospitality business, guys. Most guests are happy to pay a premium price to stay at your beautiful property with their family. They want to be happy. So don't make them do menial tasks. It really just is not worth it. All right. Step 4, this is when you get ready to pay your cleaner. You want to make sure we have a W-9 form on file. So when you pay $600 or more a year from January 1st to December 31st, you do need to fill out a W-9 form. I like to do this before we onboard our cleaner. That way we have all of the information come tax season. Here's why. The W-9 form has details about the person or the services you're paying for. Are you paying them directly via their social security number, or are you paying them through an LLC? It has their name, address, tax ID, and it also helps the IRS make sure everybody is reporting their income correctly. Just do it at the beginning before you get started. It makes your life so much easier. So if you don't get this form, there may be more taxes you end up paying on the money. There could be some IRS stuff, so just don't do it. Get the form, sign it, make sure it gets filled out, and then file it with your tax person, however you want to do it. Again, it's a smart move just to keep things tidy when it comes to taxes in your business. So number 5 is step 5 is I want to make sure you guys are sharing your Airbnb calendar with your crew. I have an iCal link, and again, automation makes things easier for everybody. And if you guys don't know how to do your iCal share link for your cleaning crew, you can use your PMS. So I use OwnerRez and Hospitable, and you can just send them a thing from there, and it makes it really easy for them. This is important because if you don't do this, you'll spend a lot of time coordinating in and out between when to come, when not to come. And this is not a fun task, and it can get pretty complicated. Instead, just give them access to your calendar so they can schedule when they're going to be there, when they're not going to be there. And again, go back to the door lock and just check to make sure. All right, guys, step number 6, cleaners need to be available every day. Now, let's talk about an important aspect. Your cleaners need to be available every day. This means they need to be available on weekends and holidays and all 7 days of the week. This is super important because we do run a 24/7 hospitality business. I almost once hired someone to clean one of my units, and like right before we started and they finalized, they were like, "Hey, I don't work on Sundays." And I was like, while I respect everyone's schedules and I understand you specifically now, I do need someone from your team to work on Sundays because we do have same day turns that happen on Sundays, especially when we run a weekend heavy business. So 365 days, including weekends, holidays. Now, of course, for things like Christmas, New Year's, I just block the calendar so guests can't check in or out on that day, to give them a little bit of time off. Like, I do understand that, but they do need to be available for you most of the year. And by them, I mean like them or their team members. So cleaning doesn't unfortunately get a break, and neither do we on weekends or holidays. So you do need a crew that kind of works around the clock to make sure your property is always in tip-top shape. All right, guys, step number 7, they always need to be ready. Your cleaner needs to be always ready. And but what I mean by always ready is, say a guest messages and goes like, "Hey, we're out of towels," or "We need more shampoo." They need to be available to at least run these things to them. Now, obviously, we don't want to be insane with our time and tell them, "Hey, I need it at midnight. I need extra towels." Obviously, I'm not going to make my cleaner get up. I'll message her the next day and tell her, "Hey, do you mind swinging by if you have a few minutes?" Be kind to them, guys. This is a tough business. And when guests needs extra stuff, we like to coordinate that, or I'll use something like the Walmart delivery app and just have stuff delivered to them to make it nice and easy. I like to have my team be the go-to for these situations, but I always like to bring in other resources if they are busy and I respect their time for it. As always, you want to try and make things as easy as possible for everyone. If you guys enjoyed this episode, I do have a lot more videos about where I talk about short-term rentals, hospitality, entrepreneurship. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below and watch my other videos. And if you guys have topic ideas, please put them in the comment below and we'll get you a video out. Cleaning is such an important part of your hosting business, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Till next time, see you guys.